Hey, everybody. This is Beyond the Dashboard, and I am Scott Schnaars, the founder of Yirla. We're an AI platform that pulls all of your paid campaigns into a single place, finds the budget that you're wasting, and tells you exactly where to move it. In each episode, I get to talk to the marketers who are actually out there doing the work, and they share what's working for them, what's not working so well, and what they might do differently. If you like this content and it provides some value for you, I would love for you to subscribe and share with a colleague. And with that out of the way, let's jump right in. I'm super excited about my next guest. He has spent the last 5 years at LinkedIn, first as a growth marketing manager, and now leading demand generation, whereas he has had a front row seat in how B2B marketing is being shaped by AI, which is something that he's really passionate about. What makes Mehdi Labidi unique is that he brings this really unique technology background into a marketing role. And that means we're not just going to be talking about AI. Like, he's actually out there building it. He's creating these internal tools. He's sharing what he's learned, and he's growing this audience online. So I think what we're going to learn today is that maybe we're asking the wrong questions about AI entirely. So Mehdi, welcome to Beyond the Dashboard. I'm really excited about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. I'm very glad to be here with you. Thank you.
Great. Let's kind of kick this off by talking a little bit about your background. You've got a background in technology. You're working in demand gen at what is arguably the single most influential platform in B2B marketing today at LinkedIn. How does thinking like an engineer change the way that you approach marketing problems?
Yeah. Thank you. So I would say first, I'm obsessed by solving problems that I have in my day-to-day job or like my colleagues or my customers. So it's having this focus first about solving this problem. So that helps a lot when we are like in the marketing, because when we are about to launch a campaign, what is it for? Is it like for that objective? Is it for fixing this issue or this trend? So there is this first angle, I would say. The second lever would say to base any decisions on insights or data. So I'm a very rational based person when it's about like ideating or optimizing something. So it's very based on numbers, like raw numbers or insights. So there is always like a strong rationale behind any initiatives in the marketing landscape. And the third one, maybe the most powerful when we talk about scaling our impact, it's the capability on destructuring the process, the way that you are approaching a problem, and then see that with different phases, different tasks. What are the challenges? What are the opportunities for each of these? What are the dependencies? Like a workflow in a application, a software. So that view can definitely help when you have like complex processes or workflows in your marketing job and see that for making the engine more efficient.
And that seems like a really pragmatic way of solving problems. What kinds of pushback do you get internally, especially coming at, you're working with a marketing team, you're coming at it with the technology lens. Is there pushback that you're getting along the way because of that pragmatic way of solving those problems?
Yeah, I mean, that might happen sometimes that you have like a proposed solution to address one of these challenges. One of the potential blockers is because you work in a large company, you have a lot of processes in place and you have a lot of teams that you work with. And of course, each team has their specific areas, their own responsibilities. So you have to kind of align with these boundaries, with these governance based methodologies. That sometimes is like a consideration to have and to have in mind, because you can't do just what you want to test. You have to kind of stay within these guardrails.
When you're on the inside of a big company, like you're on the inside at LinkedIn, are you like, one of the things I think that our audience would be really interested in learning more about is what patterns are you seeing in the campaigns that are consistently doing really well versus the ones that just kind of quietly bleed budget out?
Yeah. So I think it might sound obvious, but when you launch any initiatives that targets your audience, you have to be relevant in terms of messaging. You have to deliver the right message to the right audience at the right time. This is like the basic layer. And then on top of that, you have to think about what do you deliver as value. When you think about the customer experience, they have other challenges in their day-to-day job. They have some needs, some constraints. So you have to think about what you can bring as added value. It could be insights, assets, guidelines, checklist, or educational content. So this is one of the things that we do see in our successful campaigns. Not only it talks about like the product, the solution, but also like tackling one of the challenges with something like added value. I would say one of the components that is more and more important in the B2B landscape is the creativity. It has been covered from the beginning in the B2C industry. It wasn't on the B2B, it was quite serious for quite a long time. Now we can see like very fun, very engaging content from B2B companies, especially on the tech industry.
Yeah, it seems like Rippling, as an example, I think is doing a great job of making campaigns fun.
Yeah, exactly. And Salesforce or Monday, LinkedIn as well, they are including that as like a key pillar in the creative process. And I would add on top of all these three components, the capability of testing and optimizing, because you start somewhere, you start like the first version, but the most successful campaigns now are not like the first shoot. They are like resulted after many iterations, after many personalization, optimization. Yeah, I would say personalization is, oh, sorry, optimization on top of these is kind of like a key lever.
Are you seeing anybody using generative AI to create kind of those fun and engaging campaigns, or are they, because everyone that I see is like that traditional AI slop that we're all seeing right now? And is there anybody that you'd want to highlight or that you can highlight that's using Gen AI well in their campaigns to make that fun and that creative element?
I think, I mean, especially on LinkedIn, there's like so many, how to say, consideration about that. So we don't see, I don't see that from the LinkedIn perspective, but outside LinkedIn, I just remember maybe Coca-Cola has launched a
Yeah.
video ad fully generated by AI. And if I'm not wrong, there was a surprising reaction from the audience. I don't think it was like only positive feedback. So, but I don't see that often now, not yet, I would say.
Can I ask you a question that's maybe like and try and get an unbiased answer from you on cross-channel budgets? When a demand gen team is thinking about cross-channel budget decisions across every single platform, is there something that they should be looking at that's telling them that this channel is winning over this channel or vice versa beyond just like looking at the numbers?
Yeah. So you can imagine that now, like today, we are more and more able to measure the impact of like any type of campaigns. And so if we want to benchmark the actual impact and yeah, the value that it drives for each channel, we can measure KPIs. We have like common, um, like similar KPIs across channels. Some are upstream KPIs, like up to the funnel, very close to the engagement interactions with the customer, and more like downstream KPIs where you can translate these into revenue. So that you can do if you don't have any other complex measurement framework. This is one way to measure the efficiency, I would say, or the return of investment or the ROAS of each channel. In large companies, we have the opportunity on relying on the media mix modeling approach. So it's a complex process that is able to give you the right picture about the best balance to invest in channels. And what is interesting is it's dynamic, it changes across the time. And I forgot one thing about that. Oh, yeah. And what is interesting to see with the media mix modeling is it depends on the funnel stages. So if you drive these campaigns, or very woeful bottom of the funnel conversion campaigns, these modeling can be very different. So that level of insights can definitely be like the decision making process tool to help the teams to invest on the right channel.
Yeah, and it's really interesting when we think about kind of that the multi-channel campaigns there and being able to pull out, okay, like this one's performing relatively well, this one's kind of not performing well. Let's move that budget from one to the other. And I'm just kind of thinking about it because LinkedIn is never going to say take some of your budget and move it to Google. Google's never going to say take some of your budget and move it to Meta. And like how should somebody be thinking about like when I'm hearing, okay, yeah, you're doing great on our platform, you're doing great on our platform, you're doing great on our platform. You're probably not doing great on all three platforms. Like maybe one is outperforming the other. And just how should marketers be thinking about like getting that answer and then relaying their own data set on top of that?
Yeah. And some like external factors can definitely change the balance.
Yeah.
There is any hype or like a trend on the price increase of the CPC, then you might adjust your balance because it's all about ROI at the end of the day. So if you invest $1, how much you can get in return. So if you see like a trend that is decreasing on that side, then definitely it impacts the whole balance and the whole mix of your channels.
Yeah, it really does. Mehdi, there's a lot of the founders in my LinkedIn stream are, like me, they're running small organizations and they're using AI agents to do a lot of the work for them and kind of not necessarily replace staff, but to augment staff. You're building out these AI tools at LinkedIn, which is a huge company, thousands of employees. And I've got to imagine that there's a big difference between rolling out AI tools for a 10-person company versus rolling AI tools out for 10,000-person company. What's the hardest part about getting a large organization like that to actually adopt AI in their day-to-day workflow?
Yeah, in a large company like LinkedIn, we are around like maybe more than 800 marketers.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of teammates, but we have like numerous teams. And as you can imagine, we have very different set of needs, challenges, constraints. So if you expect the company to give you like or to build a tool, AI powered tool that is able to address all the challenges, that is very complex. So because we all have different problems to solve, that might be challenging for the company to build one unique tool to address all of these. It means that they have two options. Either it will be generic or it will be very complex. So this is always this balance that is challenging for centralizing the AI layers, I would say, within a company. The second problem, it's a challenge that takes time. It's the governance, the safety. LinkedIn is one of these tech companies that is taking AI very seriously because first, it impacts the real experience of the members, of the customers, but also following the same approach as Microsoft, Google, or any big tech companies. They built like a responsible AI framework. So there is a set of guidelines to follow externally, but also internally within our systems. So because of that, it's a challenge, definitely, to roll out AI implementation across the team. So yeah, this is like one of the key challenges. And the
I'm
third
I'm glad to hear about the governance because I don't think a lot of you read about these companies who are like, oh, I got rid of HubSpot and I just vibe coded some CRM, and I don't think that those companies are thinking about governance or security or any of that stuff at all,
I mean,
which I
yeah,
suspect 6 months from now is going to pose all kinds of its own problems.
yeah. I mean, the stakes are really high. We are talking about like data, privacy data. We are talking about
Yeah,
accuracy. If you want to deliver for the LinkedIn hiring solutions, for example, if you don't deliver the right candidate, it might be because of the data inaccuracy. So the whole experience and the whole relevance of the product might be impacted. Same for the marketing, LinkedIn marketing solutions. So um, there is so much at stake here that we can't negotiate with that. And I would say the third challenge would be the adoption. across the teams. So if some members of the company are not like upskilled enough on the AI adoption, then they might not use your tool and even not aware about what it implies in terms of risk and considerations or awareness. So I would say, yeah, there is like a conduct of change that has to apply, takes time. The AI change is very like it's quite new. There's so much going on. So yeah, it's challenging. It's not
Mehdi,
an
are you
easy
are
process.
you it's not. And are there types of applications that you're building without giving away any state secrets? Are there types of applications that you're building that have a higher likelihood of being adopted, especially by those um we'll call them AI laggards who might not be as enthusiastic about it. So are there tools that you're giving them where they're like, "Oh yeah, hey, let's get on board with that," versus other tools you give them and they push back on it?
Well, it depends on the teams. There's some use cases that might be easier to implement with AI solutions. I would say the ones that are related to the internal productivity related tasks. So we are using some tools about like meetings, email, Teams message, and everything. So you can imagine that in these workspace, it's quite safe and easy to adopt these AI powered features to accelerate and to increase your productivity. So this is one easy scope to begin with. Then when some marketers have to digest a lot of information, internal research study, if it's about cross-checking information, if it's about summarizing, that is like maybe also some easiest use cases to explore. Then on the creative side might be more tricky because there's like more complexity in terms of image or copywriting, in terms of bias, in terms of accuracy, in terms of compliance. So yeah, um, it depends really on the needs.
Yeah. If we dig into that a little bit more, there's a huge difference between people who use AI. Right? Everybody's seen that graphic now that has the 3.2 million whatever little boxes on it, and only one of them is red, and the rest of them are yellow, and some of them are green or whatever. So there's a big difference between people who are using AI and people who are AI enabled. How do you think about that distinction? And are we at a point now where marketing teams are truly AI enabled, or are they still kind of playing in like a 2023 world where they're just using AI for most of their tasks?
Yeah, so I think I will speak just from what I see around me. Most of marketers have increased strongly their knowledge about what is possible now to do, what it's not yet. So the knowledge and the upskilling around critical thinking might be one of the first necessary layers to have for being fully AI enabled. If you want to scale the impact of your AI usage versus like an occasional user on AI, you have to change the way of working. For example, instead of starting a new chat twice a week, you have to give back the context again and again. If you want to avoid to waste your time to doing the same things, you have to maybe use these contexts once, you do it right, and then you place it in a folder or a project or a gem in Gemini, and then you will use that specific workspace, tiny workspace, to be like in the right context. And you can imagine having different contexts because in your job you have maybe completely different set of tasks, and you can see that as a like a beginning stage of an agent in a cloud code
Yeah.
ecosystem, comparable agent. Yeah, like very tiny and dedicated workspace to scale um, everything you do with AI. And definitely you can even like increase the quality of the output because in that workspace you can define what you expect exactly. And the last point would be for a fully AI enabled team would be like if you are able to even integrate AI in your workflow, that can change completely your day-to-day job. So instead of switching between your AI chatbot and your tool, whatever the tool is, because of that, the adoption is like hindered and not fully like leveraging what you're doing with AI. So yeah, on that sense, if you are able to integrate AI components within your workflow, then your experience will be smoother and then be more efficient in your tasks.
How far away do you think that we are? This is just a crazy idea that popped into my head, but how far away do you think that we are from new employees either having to build their own MD file when they come on board, or they have to bring their own MD file with them as part of their onboarding?
I might be, I mean, I think I'm biased. Around me, maybe um, in 1 year's time, we
Yeah.
should be able to have that set of tools and agents. Maybe in some other industries or smaller companies might be more challenging. I don't know. The ecosystem here is quite pushing in that direction. But yeah, I can't say for, yeah.
Heard of companies who are starting to ask their employees to build an MD file to get their own personalized agent out of that? I personally haven't, but you have a tighter pulse on it than I do.
On the marketing landscape, I can see only a few publishers who talk about using quote code in the marketing use cases, but I feel it's might be very early in that landscape. On the software designing world, definitely it's something that is already like visible.
Yeah.
And yeah, the whole essence of these ecosystems like Cloud Code again is doing that. So yeah, on the tech code programming side, I think they're already here. On the marketing, we are not there yet. Yeah.
Interesting. We talked a little bit about how AI adoption breaks down at large companies. What do you think happens at scale that makes it easy to work with? Maybe not necessarily easy, but that works fine inside of a small team. Like how and do you have an opinion on what size things start to break down?
So I would assume like when you say small team, maybe in a small company or small team
Yeah,
within a
exactly. Like a company under 1,000 people versus over 1,000 people. Why is adoption at one, the smaller one, work better? Is it just fewer people to have to manage and manipulate? And
Yeah, so I would expect a smaller company having less strict guidelines in terms of responsible AI framework or brand compliance. Um, safe. I mean, some industries might already have some very strict guidelines on any of these topics, but I wouldn't be surprised if some industries and some small companies have quite like the right playground to allow teams to experiment with more flexibility on the tools, on the approach. So they, if these small teams can experiment and iterate faster, then they can compensate and have like a strong impact by scaling. We
Mhm.
do see some like micro global companies. This is like a weird term, but
I like
lovable.
that term though.
It's lovable is one of these examples. So these very small companies that were able to deliver such an impact and like making staggering revenue in a very short period of time because they were able to leverage these AI components with the ability of pivoting, experimenting, iterating in a very, very shorter cycles. So that makes like a huge difference for small teams if they want to compete with the large ones.
Yeah, I've not heard the term micro global, but I love it.
No, no, I made it up, but I don't know if it's a thing, but I
Did you
think
did
like
you just make that up on the spot? Do you own microglobal.com?
I heard that in French, but in English, I don't know if there is an equivalent.
It's a great term. And you're right. Like there's these small kind of under 100 employee companies that are doing several $billion in revenue. We're getting there very quickly. Like it's coming, and that's a great way of saying it because it's so obvious there. When you think about companies that are using AI, and AI is like processing this performance data in real time, is there an excuse in 2026 that demand gen teams are still making budgeting decisions based on a gut feel or what their boss's boss thinks is good or anything like that?
I don't feel that personally.
Okay.
Every decisions in that sense have to be backed on like actual insights and numbers. Personally, it's the case for me in my scope. I'm very like data driven approach person. I don't think that happens that often. Even if we could rely more on AI suggestions, but still, I don't see that coming that in a meaningful way.
Everything that you're doing today is 100% backed up by data, and there's no kind of second guessing it. That's great.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah.
That's really good. How does AI free up your team? Like there's things that AI can do in a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes that used to take hours or even days of reporting and analysis. And now that your team has this additional free time, what are they going to be focused on that is like more than what the machine can do?
It would allow us for sure to focus on the strategy, on the creative side. A thing for now we can challenge, we can enrich, but I haven't in my scope. I haven't seen any convincing AI tool able to build like a full-fledged strategy with a very relevant creative approach for any of our campaigns. It's an assistant in that sense, but it doesn't replace us for these scopes. I mean, yet from what I saw. So for sure, we can definitely focus more on that. We can focus also on upskilling ourselves. So if we want to, I mean, the expectations on by using AI is to be more productive, to drive more impact, and we need to be like competitive in that sense. Because of this change in our workplace, um, then we have to upskill ourselves not only on how to use in a better way AI, but also how to address other fields. So I would take as an example, I wanted at some point create videos. But I'm not a filmmaker. I'm not used to edit videos. So um, I was finding challenging to build videos with AI because I was not able to
Mm,
challenge rightfully AI. And the best example for me, like the best analogy would be I definitely can't produce any German content because I don't speak German. So how can I
okay.
pretend to challenge AI on the nuances or the copy if I can't just understand if the output is good or not. So I have to learn German if I want to deliver German, even with AI. So it means that if you want to address the analytics of your campaigns or the performance management, how to drive stakeholder relationship management efficiently, you have to learn these fields, and then you can enrich your skills with AI as an assistant always. But you can't replace a field that you don't control or master with AI. That, I mean, for me, it doesn't work this way. And the last one could be AI doesn't know anything about human dynamics within your company, political considerations, the opportunities on building partnerships with other teams, cross functional collaboration. That is definitely something that I see driving a lot of value in our initiatives, and that AI cannot do anything in that direction. So, yeah, focusing more on human and ourselves, I would say. This
Yeah.
is for my key opportunity.
I want to unpack a couple of things that you said there. The one that made me smile. Have you ever read the book Mana? I'll have to get you the link. You'll love it. It's a short story from maybe 10 or 12 years ago about an AI future. But one of the things that it talks about is how AI opens up this new door for human creativity. And you kind of hit on it there. It's like, oh, AI is doing the grunt work while you can do the strategy and the creativity. So, as I like to think of myself as a creative person, so it's great to hear that I can unlock that door. The second thing that you talked about was upscaling individuals. Is that is that through classes or is that through like what are you looking at to upscale them? Are you looking at upscaling them on micro tasks or are you upscaling them like, hey, you're going to be an AI expert and you're going to have this, kind of personal agent that's going to do all this stuff for you? Like what level of upscaling are you thinking about for that?
So, as I said, it could be like upskilling on like horizontal fields, I would say, next to your
Mhm.
core job. If you want to fully embrace your capabilities and handling like end-to-end project, but also like upskilling on the AI topics. So, how does it work? What do you have to be aware of? How to make that more efficient? How to put nuances in the output? Yeah, it's more, but it's also about that. So, it's both
Yeah.
areas.
And that upscaling there probably this is something that you seem like you're passionate about tends to lean in then on like how do I become a great prompt engineer and how do I scale that across my team and I'm just as you've probably seen a million prompts at this point, what separates somebody who gets those mediocre results from AI versus somebody who gets really exceptional ones?
Uh, I think you have to be a bit curious about AI prompt engineering.
Like Ted Lasso says, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can test it, you can play with that. The good thing is you can choose your topic, you can cook with prompt engineering, you can find games, you can do a lot of stuff. And in your workplace, there's a lot of opportunities to play with the prompt engineering. I would say what makes significant differences could be also the iteration and patience, because you can't expect AI to give you the perfect answer like on the first prompt. You have to be okay with iterating again and again, optimizing the output and testing things. I think I mentioned that earlier. The critical thinking skill is one of the most important one. You have to be able to not only challenge the output of AI, but you also have to challenge your own assumptions. So, for example, I spent like maybe 10 or 15 minutes with AI to give me suggestions, improvements on an article that I wanted to write. And it was going with my direction. It was like pushing me further. I was happy with the output at the end after these 15 minutes. And then I just checked and challenged my work with my wife. And she straight away in 10 seconds ask me the question, do you think it's actually relevant, that level of complexity for the audience that you want to talk to? I don't think there is I think there's a gap. And I realized that my assumptions, my context as I gave to AI was not allowing AI to question first, am I going to the right direction? So you have to get
Yeah.
that
Oh,
in
that's really
mind,
good.
because sometimes you might choose maybe not the perfect or the most relevant direction. So it's a kind of game between challenging AI on the output, but also challenging yourself. So the critical thinking applies to yourself as well, more than AI. So this is like a cool exercise, but might be challenging for some people for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very important one, I would say.
Well, and it seems like so much of it has been sold as this magic box that knows all the answers. And the very first thing that you said was you have to be patient. And like that is really, really well said. And it's simple because it's true. You have to kind of be patient and continue to iterate. And I think people get frustrated or they get lazy and they just go, oh, you know what? Like I asked ChatGPT what the answer was and it told me this. And therefore,
Yeah.
that's the answer now. It's really good.
And what the reason why it doesn't work, and this is one of the hardcore components about the generative AI models, is they are not predictable. So if you type the right prompt, the same prompt 10 times, it's very likely that you won't get twice the same output. There is a kind of random component, even if you give like a very specific prompt in terms of output. So yeah, this is like the thing that you have to be aware, because you can't predict and you can't expect exactly to get exactly what you expected.
Yeah,
Yes.
lately I feel like I've been dealing with like a petulant 5-year-old where it's like I have to ask the question a bunch of different ways to get to the answer that I want to get to. And even then it's like, oh man, this is a
Yeah.
lot of work. Can we just go to the store, man?
And at the end, that's okay if you structure your processes with human oversight, human review, because at the end, nothing can go outside the box without human in the loop.
Yeah.
There's always some like strong QA phases, especially now where the level of confidence is not 100%. So yeah, we do see like improvements in terms of hallucinations, relevance, but yeah, we still have to stay in the loop, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. If you were going to teach a class on or teach a marketing team prompt engineering and you had 1 hour to do it, what would you focus on?
If I would assume that you know the problem to solve, right? So
I mean, that not necessarily like that's a great way to
okay.
start is like defining what that problem is.
So before maybe diving into the deep diving into the prompt, I would say try first to identify the right problem to solve, because if you use prompt engineering and you don't know what for, then might be not first. Yeah, focus on the problem, and then in terms of prompt engineering, you can start by using prompt frameworks. So one of my favorite frameworks is the Bright framework. So
Talk more.
GHT framework. So B for the background. You can tell just about your job, what you're doing, and why are you asking AI to be helped with for the B. For the R, it's the role that you give to AI for that conversation. It's a kind of expertise, because you can imagine like LLMs had digested huge amount of data, but a same topic can be viewed by many angles. It could be a journalist angle, it could be a historian angle, it could be a scientist angle, or it could be just like a funny guy if you want to make jokes. I don't know. So you have to give that lens, because the LLM will know where to look at in terms of output, and then choose the right terms within the scope. So the role is really important. And if you look at what Cloud Code is doing with agents or other ecosystem, this is exactly the role transferred into agent context. They have to know in what area they have to navigate. So this is a R. I is instructions. So be very explicit, be very clear about the task. What do you request? Is it summarizing? Is it ideate? Is it challenge your input? Is it mapping these two sets of data? I don't know, but the
Yeah.
instruction is key here. G, so the goal. So why are you doing that? Why are we writing these email? Is it for increasing the engagement rate from the audience? Is it for like getting registrations for an event? So by giving the context, you will connect the dots with the intent and like the end-to-end relevance, I would say. So yeah, this is the G, which is the how. Might be difficult in some cases. The how is if you have like a clear picture about the methodology or the framework to follow. In some cases, I can imagine that they might have some famous frameworks to follow. It could be rapid framework for decision making
Yeah.
or escalation things. You can have like many frameworks to rely on, and then AI will follow that. This is like one powerful component. But you can also have your own way to deconstruct the process. And I would recommend to give like very tiny tasks, very explicit tasks by saying, task one, do that. Don't start the task two before finishing task one. Task two, another task, task 3, and then it will stop between all of these different tasks. And then you will be able to check the quality of each of these intermediate steps. So this is like very powerful because you will limit and reduce the inaccuracy or bias or any misleading information. So this is the how. And the last one, this is why I find this framework relevant for marketers. The T is for the target. So what
Oh, it's
audience
great.
are you using that work for? Is it internal communication? Is it the senior exec? Is it customers, prospects? What kind of prospects? So then it will know exactly what jargon, what are the components of that audience. Yeah. In the how, I forgot to say, you can definitely address the format. So do you want a table? Do you want a list, a bullet point list? Do you want, in some languages, tone of voice,
Yeah.
like everything. Yeah.
Mehdi, do
So
you
sorry.
keep that as a file, and every time you start a prompt, Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini ask you those questions through the Bright framework? Like, let's start with, okay, what's the background on this, Mehdi? And then you fill that in, and then that kind of makes your prompt a lot tighter.
So I do it just only once per project or
Okay.
types of initiatives. So I have a few of them already ready to be used. I have projects or gems in my Gemini account that are already containing these context. And then, I can iterate on top of these. But I have a few of them. And just back to your question, because the audience might be interested in getting maybe some tips on top of this framework.
By the way, that's amazing because it's super actionable. Like, anybody can put that into play right this second.
Yeah, happy to help. So one of the other tips that I love doing, and I can see like it clicks like in a second with anyone, is the ask to ask tip, I would say. So basically, you start your prompt, you give the context, you give the problem, you give the task, everything. And just before entering the prompt and sending the request, you say something like, ask me from 10 to 20 questions that will help you understanding my context and my problem. I might have forgotten some aspects. So ask me the questions,
That's really smart.
cover all these like forgotten, uncovered areas. So then it will ask you first the question, you reply with like one, my answer, two, the answer, and then it will start the process based on these input. And honestly, it's like a game changer in terms of quality. Sometimes I don't consider all these nuances, but for AI, it is significantly like important. That's a very strong tip.
That's amazing. I love those.
There is another one.
Please.
If you're like willing to learn on the prompt engineering and upskill fast on that, you can use also the auto prompting tip. So you have you have a conversation with AI, whatever it starts with the Bright framework or any framework or just a conversation. At some point, you will be happy with the output, right? So you're kind of satisfied with the current output. You stop there and you say, based on that output, that level of quality of or relevance, and based on my initial need and the conversation with all the iterations, give me the perfect prompt that I need to use to get to that result. And then AI will write the exact prompt that is working for itself. And what's interesting is if you do that exercise through Gemini, ChatGPT, or Copilot or anything, the prompt won't be the same. So each
I
model,
wouldn't expect it to be the same, but going back to what you said earlier about how if I ask the same question 5 times, I'm gonna get 5 different answers. Does the answer get a lot tighter with that more complex prompt, and therefore it's more consistent?
oh, yeah, I mean, definitely,
Okay.
because the more specific you are, the less iteration you will need to get. Yeah, yeah. So
And then once you have that master prompt, Are you saving that so that you can reuse it again and you just have this like long spreadsheet of prompts, or how do you use that knowledge?
Yeah. So the prompt is used for recurring tasks. So if you
Okay.
know you have to localize different sets of emails, or you have to summarize a very complex problem with the right with always the same audience internally in your company, then you might use this prompt if you want to follow some framework or some approach. This is one way. I do use these kind of master prompts in when I implement tools. So of course, if you want to automate like a process, you have to get like some of these ready to use prompts, kind of very powerful prompts with very specific task, specific scope. So I will use all these master prompts within this implementation, and then the process will execute these prompts, and they can even like collaborate with each other, kind of agent collaboration, because they are like really expert and dedicated on one specific task. So
Yeah.
yeah, if if you don't have like recurring tasks, then no need.
Right. Hey, this has been an awesome conversation. I got one last question for you. As you think about fi- oh, Mehdi, all right?
Sorry.
Oh, I just got a ton of static there. All right. Last question. 5 years from now, what is a marketing team that didn't invest in AI literacy, like you were talking about, all of the upscaling and everything? What does that team look like compared to one that actually did?
I can see like a huge competitive advantage.
Yeah.
Honestly, as I mentioned before, like the micro global companies, uh, key advantage would be that they can iterate way quicker than anyone else, because from ideation through to optimization through delivery, they have like way shorter cycles. So they can like be very responsive on any signals, trends, or changes. So for me, definitely the companies or the teams will thrive if they already got on board on that. If you're not, then you will struggle to adapt and even survive. That's hard because, yeah, how to compete with someone who has like more relevance and personalization capabilities, more like flexibility, more
Yeah.
responsiveness, thanks to these tools. So, yeah, this is how I see it.
Do you think that there's a world where we have a big snapback back to like more humanized touches? Like you just mentioned personalization, but it now like the personalized emails that I get are so obviously AI generated personalized that it looks awful and it's hard to like even come up with a response. Do you see a world where 5 years from now that more like truly personalized human to human interaction is more valuable than all the AI personalization?
But yeah, I mean, I I see like AI becoming like a key player in our jobs, but I also see at the same time the value, like the incomparable value of having like human interactions. And this is obviously
Yeah.
one of like, the best components of working with people and teams. And I don't think it will disappear, especially when you have, I mean, some people even work this way. You have to bond and build relationships with people before talking about deals and business. So I think, yeah, I'm not worried about that, but I see maybe the level of personalization will be better, the personalization capabilities, but the human connection will always be like the most authentic connection.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm glad to hear that the human connection is always going to be the most authentic. This has been a great human connected conversation, Mehdi. I really appreciate the time today. Thank you. Where can people find you? Obviously LinkedIn because you work there. Is that the best place to find more about you?
Yeah, for now, yes. Yeah, I would love. I mean, I have two kids, quite young, so quite challenging to spend more time on top of my work on this. But yeah, I started to share more content on LinkedIn.com. That is the place where you can, yeah, chat with me or just exchange or just follow any content sharing.
Excellent. I will put a link to your LinkedIn profile in the show notes here on the channel.
Thank you.
Mehdi, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate everybody's time who watched this today. This has been another episode of Beyond the Dashboard, a Yirla podcast. I am Scott, and thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, everyone.